to us about how you see private credit interacting with the economy right now, because it's been a source of stress for a corner of the credit market, but it hasn't necessarily spilled over into the broader economy.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with where the problems have been in private credit, and it had really mainly been in software. Software makes up about 25% of direct lending, and software went to very big significant problems. Number one, there was AI disruption risks, and number two, software companies happen to have very, very high leverage and very low coverage ratios. That means that software companies do not have great ability to do well in an environment where interest rates are higher for longer. And given that we keep on talking about interest rates are going to stay higher for longer because inflation is higher for longer, we have shock from the Middle East, we still have upward pressure on inflation. That means that in the private credit world, those businesses that are in the areas that have a lot of leverage and have little ability to pay that high level of debt, they are going to continue to struggle. And that's where really most of the problems in private credit have been located.
And of course, we look ahead to what's coming up next week. Blackstone just reported earnings, Alphabet just reported earnings, but the rest of the hyperscalers report next week. As an economist, as someone who looks at private credit as well, how are you going to be looking at those results?
Well, going into next week, as we just talked about, first of all, there's a Bank of England meeting. We also have an FOMC meeting next Wednesday. We also have hyperscaler earnings. 3 hyperscalers will report on July 29 and July 30. And now we also have the risk of escalating conflict in the Middle East.
Yep.
I mean, we're setting ourselves up for a fairly significant risk of an increase in vol. We're beginning to see some of those moves today. But the risk, of course, is that if there is a change in the narrative in any of these stories, in particular the story around the Middle East, especially also the story around the Fed, if the Fed does hike, and in particular also the story around the AI spending and the hyperscalers, that could potentially make next week quite volatile. And that's the risk, of course, when we look ahead.
But those who are positive on the U.S. economy will look at it and say, but there's so many things that are going right in this economy. The economy is holding up very well. The AI boom, for instance, shows that the economy is doing well. Even if there's all this talk about rising interest rates, things are holding off pretty well here. And
that's the paradox in some sense, that we really have a very good economic outlook. If I type ECFCGO on my Bloomberg screen and look at consensus expectations, they are really, really strong for GDP, for consumer spending, for CapEx spending. And even with that backdrop, we still have sector problems in software. We still have issues around what's the energy sector doing. And we now also have these issues around with the Google earnings yesterday, what's going on with data center spending, what's going on for the hyperscalers. So it's not the fundamentals for the economy. They're really doing really great. It's more whether the narrative that has driven things forward is going to continue.